Good morning, everybody. Glad to have you here today. Appreciate you taking a moment. If you will, look with me in the book of Genesis, chapter 14, and we will begin in verse number 16. We won't just begin there, we will end there. We're going to look at just this one verse this morning, and hopefully it'll be a little encouragement to us. Again, like, share, comment, and then we read these words. Then he brought back all the possessions, he being Abram. He brought back all the possessions and also brought back his kinsman Lot with his possessions and the women and the people. Seems pretty benign. Seems like there's not really a whole lot there, but let's consider this for a moment. Abram has now went and confronted Lot's enemies, really not Abram's enemies, but Lot's enemies, and overcame, defeated these enemies, rescued his called his nephew, rescued Lot, his family, all the men, the women, the children, all the goods, all the possessions. And it's important to note that that when Abram went and his victory, that he brought back all the possessions, and he brought back his kinsman Lot with his possessions and the women and the people. That is, again, easy to overlook and to skip right over. But remember that, as was the practice of that time, was the basic, I guess you'd say, rules of warfare, of battle. Technically, all those things now belong to Abram. Lot belonged to Abram. All Lot's stuff belonged to Abram. He could have kept every bit of it for himself. On top of that, we have some idea from eventually, and most of you already know how this story goes. You know where a lot of eventually ends up in Sodom, and so the general idea would be that all these people that it's talking about, all these they're immoral, they're sinners, and yet Abram took them and turned them loose. He gave them back all their stuff, even though no doubt he had most likely lost some of his servants in the battle. He had no doubt spent some of his resources in the battle, spent some of his time that he could have been somewhere else expanding his kingdom. And yet when he gets them all free and gets them all loose, he turns them loose rather than saying, all right, y'all work for me now, give me your stuff, I got your stuff. He turns them loose. And we can ask the question, and all I can do is speculate, because the Bible doesn't tell us why he did that. Again, certainly most people wouldn't have after going into battle and going through this. Most people would have looked at this as a victory for themselves, but he turns them loose. And the only thing I can, my thought that I would give you in that is that God had always been compassionate and patient and generous to Abram, and Abram had learned a lesson. God had been compassionate towards Abram when he was in Egypt, and brought him back and restored him. And so now Abram is showing the same compassion that God had shown him. He was demonstrating the same generosity, compassion, love, patience, unselfishness, all those wonderful adjectives that we like to be on the receiving end. Abram has received that from God, and now he's demonstrating that and giving that not only to Lot, who is his nephew, who maybe you would say he makes sense, but all the women and the people, everybody else. He shows this compassion to them. I think all of us would agree. This would be a better world, a better place, if we would learn to, if man would learn to show a little compassion. And it begins with the believers, begins with the followers of Christ, who have been shown great compassion, just like Abram. That God, while we were yet sinners, the Bible says, sent his son to die for us. God has given us the means, the way that we can be forgiven, that we can be restored, we can be free from the penalty of sin. And because we have been on the receiving end of such great compassion, let us demonstrate compassion, even not just to those, somebody has said, those of you, I've used this illustration before in preaching, out of the old MASH show. The one character in the old MASH said, it's nice to be nice to the nice. It's easy to be nice to the nice. But Abram here was nice to the not so nice. That's our challenge. Think about it. You have a good day. We'll see you here tomorrow morning.